Welcome back to Bomber's Workshop, and thanks so much for joining me here again. It is always great to have you back. Today we're going to be having a look at the build of a custom front bumper for a 1999 Suzuki Grand Vitara, as it's called here in Canada and the rest of the North American market. Offshore it's known as the Mazda Proceed Levante, the Suzuki Escudo, the Chevrolet Grand Vitara, and in Chile it's even known as the Grand Nomad. So a ton of names to follow for one little vehicle. This capable little rig comes with a 2-liter inline 4 or a 2.5-liter V6. And it comes with either a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. This particular one is the 2.5-liter V6 with a 5-speed manual behind it. Let's get started on the build. This time at Balmer's Workshop, a 1999 Suzuki Grand Vitara gets a custom front bumper and one of my production rear bumpers. This is a pretty cool little rig. It's got a 4.5-inch lift kit on it, as well as that's 4.5-inch suspension lift, I should say, as well as you can see here, a 2-inch body lift to give an overall 6.5 inches of lift with 32-inch tires. So just about as big as you can go with one of these until you go to a solid axle swap. And it has a very nice ride, really cool rig, and she's got sliders on already, and now really all it needs is some bumpers to finish off the package, and that is why it's here. When we're building a custom bumper that's going to house a winch, one of the first things I like to do is open up the winch and take its dimensions. In this case we've got a Warn VR 10,000 pound winch with a steel cable, heavy winch, strong winch, should do the job, and more for a little vehicle like this. But anyway, what I want to do is open it up, take all the dimensions, and figure out basically how large of a cavity I need to create, or that I need to have available to me in between my frame rails here, and how deep I need to be to mount my winch, and figure all that stuff out. That's really critical, and that's kind of the first thing you want to figure out with a winch bumper. In some cases, and this isn't totally ruled out in this case, but it's kind of a pain. In most cases, you can remove the control pack from the winch and mount it kind of wherever you want, within a reasonable range if you want to use the factory cables, or you can replace the factory cables and run the control box quite far away from the winch. And the advantage to that is the cavity that you create for the winch can be considerably smaller, because of course the control box doesn't need to fit within it. Only the mechanical winch itself needs to fit in there, and not the electrical component. Often what I do is mount the electrics up in behind the grill, and then you access them by popping the hood, or you can have a little hole cut in the front of your grill here to access the plug. But in this case, the Warns are really kind of a pain to divorce the control pack from, and you've got to buy a new bracket set up, and it's not ideal. So what we're going to do is we are going to have either quite a deep cavity to house it, or more likely what we're going to do is have an opening on the top of the bumper so that the control box can stick out above the bumper itself and sit slightly in front of the grill. Nothing wrong with that approach, and the customer's happy with that. Some people like the winch to be completely hidden, others don't mind it to protrude out of the top of the bumper. So totally a personal choice thing. The winches are waterproof, so some people like to say, oh, I want it hidden away from the weather. But I mean, really the fact is you have to access your clutch handle and your control pack no matter what. So there's going to be water ingress into where your winch is anyway. So it's important to know that your winch is going to be waterproof, or at least a half-decent winch is definitely going to be very much waterproof, and you don't have to worry about that element of it. So again, whether you choose to go with a winch that's visible and protrudes out of the top of the bumper, or one that's completely encapsulated within a cavity and then just has access holes for the clutch and the control box, is totally up to you, just personal preference. So there's two ways that I'm considering going with this bumper. We may do a plate center section and then tube outers, or we may actually do an exposed winch plate and with a little bit of tube work for a center section, and then plate sections for the outers. So I really am not quite sure what I want to do with this one yet. I've got a bit of leeway thanks to the customer being very open-minded. So that's kind of nice. I get to play with my ideas a little bit here, and then I'll run them by him and obviously do what he likes best. But anyway, let's get this winch opened up, take its dimensions, and figure out what we need to do in terms of providing a cavity for this winch to sit in. forgot to point out a very important fact about creating a large enough cavity and allowing enough room for your winch. So when you're taking your winch dimensions, something that I really should have shown you is what we want to do is take the dimension from the rope area, the spool, and figure out what it is, and it is 8 3/4 divided by 2 is 4 3/8. So I'm going to make a mark at 4 3/8, and that's the center of the winch. Now if you look at the winch, there's a whole lot more on this side where the motor is as opposed to this side where the clutch is. So we've got to allow, obviously we want our spool to sit centered on the bumper, that's critical. So of course we've got to have enough room for this to fit in between the frame rails or the bumper brackets rather that connect to the vehicle frame rails, because we need whatever this measurement is, which is, I'll call it 11.5 inches to this point right here. So that's 11.5, that's our bare minimum. Safer to go with 12. So basically, although if we measure the winch from one side to the other, it's 21 inches wide, as I've noted up here, I have to allow, basically I want to put that on 12, so I will have to allow 24 inches, which is to go right to this point here. So we've got some extra right here that we won't use, but it's critical that I allow that. Otherwise, if I only allow 21 inches for my winch to fit in, it would sit off-center, and obviously we'd never have the spool centered on the bumper, which is a really big mistake. So when you're allowing for winch space, make sure you're measuring the large side and then doubling it regardless of how long the small side is. So again, 21 inches overall, but 24 inches is what we want for our allowance. So there's our 24 inches, and this would be our 21 inches. Right to the edge there. So that 3 inches is critical. There you go. Just wanted to show you that. We have a beginning, and like most bumper beginnings, it starts with some Coroplast plastic from which I cut some very rough templates and refine them from there. This is the first top plate template that I came up with, and it sort of fit not bad. But you can see I had to fill a portion, and it wasn't the smoothest of lines, but it wasn't terrible. But I just simply refined that to create a top plate that worked a little better with a shape that I was happy with. And then I created front panels and bottom panels for it. The idea is that this is going to be, again, a hybrid bumper. We're going to have just basically a bare winch tray in the center. Obviously there's going to be a plate coming up in front of the winch to support the fair lead, so that we have a roller fair lead on the front, and then across the top of that we'll probably run a tube and connect it up into the wings that I've created here. And we've got a pretty substantial step up to the bottom of the wing, so maybe I'll put a gusset in here. Really not sure yet. We'll kind of see what happens as the project evolves, but as a very rough shape, I'm more or less happy with that. Massive approach angle, just tons of clearance everywhere, and clean lines. You can see the line of the headlight basically extends right down into the bumper, and I like that look. Doesn't come too wide outside of the fender, and it allows, I haven't put a rear end cap on this thing yet. Obviously this will get capped, and probably I'll cut this on a 45-degree angle to match the angle of the fender a little better. But you can see there's a camera up in here. This vehicle is loaded with cameras, and so I don't want to obscure that, so the bumper is going to wind up coming something like this, and then that way the camera will still have decent view. But anyway, we have a start. The customer's already been by, and he likes the look of it, so good news all around. I have already taken some video which somehow got lost. It's just not in my camera gallery anymore, so I apologize for that. So we're starting late on this one, but I'll try to kind of back up with what I've done so far. As usual, I started by making some mounting brackets on this frame, or mounts for mounting brackets I should say, and what I did is I welded a 1/2-inch nut into the bottom of the frame there, and then I welded a sleeve with a 1/2-inch inside diameter through the frame here. In this case, I wanted the bolt on the bottom and the tube on the top just to prevent any pitch from taking place, any pitch change from taking place under winching. Nice stable way to do it. So again, double shear design. All this is 1/4 inch leading into a 3/8 inch thick winch tray. And the idea of this bumper is going to be that it's kind of a hybrid between a tube design and a plate design. We're going to have obviously the winch tray in the center here, and we're going to have a tube connecting these points and a little fair lead plate in between. We may have a tube at the back here as well, or we may go with a full plate just with a few holes in it, whatever the customer prefers. And then over here we're going to go with some really high clearance wings. Through the magic of video, it's in place. This is the next day. My clip from yesterday kind of got ruined because of all kinds of neighbor noise. I do obviously work in an industrial complex, and boy, oh boy, are the neighbors noisy sometimes. So you couldn't even hear what I was saying in the last one. So I've closed the doors. I apologize that it may be a little dark in here, but I am using my fancy new camera light there in order to light the situation up for you as best I can. Anyway, this is the mock-up shape that I came up with. Pretty happy with it. Everything fits up nice and tight. Have a look over here from the center section out. That center section will be modified a little bit yet. It won't have the harsh points on it, but there's also going to be a tube going over the top. Pretty aggressive design. Obviously you can't get much more approach angle than that, at least not with a winch mount in the front. And certainly clearance on the tires almost to the very tops, so that will be ample. And you can see here the customer's camera will still have room, will still have a good reasonable view even after I cap this. And I've decided to shorten the top plate. I'm going to go basically, what I was thinking about doing, as you can see, is following the fender line right to the end there. I prefer it here and the customer agrees, so we're going to cut that off and make a nice clean line down there, as you see. So there we go. That's the general shape that I was looking for. This particular top plate is welded in place right now just with a couple of tacks, and I've put a little support up in there just to hold everything nicely in place. That's just tacked to the bottom of the top plate there. So that's how I'm holding everything rigid on this side, so that I've got a very accurate model to base everything on. And speaking of that, I have now created my panels. There's a time lapse of that. Whether I've played that before this point or after, I'm not sure. But here's a couple of the panels, which I also actually formed myself. I do all of my plasma cutting with a freehand plasma cutter. Mine is a 45 amp model. It's kind of a budget example, but it does a decent job on anything below a 1/4 inch thick material. And really, I try to stick to 3/16 and below so that I get a very clean cut. This particular material is 10 gauge, and it does indeed do a very good job. For a lot of other jobs, for thicker material and really complex stuff, I might send it out to my supplier to have it done on a plasma table, but manual plasma works great for what I'm doing here. And in terms of in-house forming, I can bend small panels on my little homemade press brake here, and I'm actually going to be doing an upgraded version of this press brake, and I'll include a video, so if you want to make your own, stay tuned for that one. Generally, I get my panels formed by my supplier in a nice CNC press brake, and they do a fantastic job of that. But right now I have pieces that are small enough to actually fit into my own press over there. My super rudimentary press brake that I built myself, strictly out of pieces of tube, flat bar, and angle iron, and it's actually turned out really well. I'm very happy with the bends that it's produced. Nice crisp bends. There's a little bit of patterning on the edges from the die, but there's almost always die marks, even with a nice CNC forming press, so I can easily buff those out before it goes to sandblast, and you'll never see them in the final product. But anyway, again, I'm really happy with these bends here. Let's try one out. Okay, so here's my plasma cut and formed piece. This top plate isn't welded in place, it's just literally balancing on the edge of this, and of course I have a stand underneath with about a 16-inch wide bar on the top of it to give me a decent level surface. Anyway, and it turns out pretty close. There's just a little discrepancy. You can see I've got some gap in this area, so I'm going to have to work that out. Probably what I'll do is just bring this edge down a little bit with a grinder, but very, very close. And if I could get you a picture underneath, then you see that there's a very nice fit up on this bottom piece as well. I'll take the camera off the tripod and show you that. Right, so as best as I can do with one hand here, there's the piece in place, and you can see very clean fit up all the way to the bottom. So that's the idea, and I'm going to keep on keeping on. We'll tack a couple of pieces in place, and then we'll form some more. This is all I have formed at this point, but I've got every piece plasma cut. So we'll get some tacked in place and then go on to forming the next so that we can fit up each piece individually. The neighbors are quiet, so the door's back open, and I've got a panel installed. So there you are. Really nice clean fit all the way around. Very, very happy with that, and ready to move on to the next one. So what I'm going to do is do the driver's side of that same panel now. I'm going to remove the plastic from here. I'll leave all of this in place, and then I'll place my metal in there, and we'll tack weld that up, and then we can make sure the fit is still perfect against these mock-ups, which should ensure that my next piece will go in just right. And we'll go over that in part 2 of this series. But thanks so much for joining me here for part 1. We went over a fair bit. I apologize again for losing some of the footage of the Coroplast mock-up build and also some of the beginnings of the steel build. But you know, I can only work with what I've got, and I am doing my best. Again, please come back for part 2. We're going to go over the fit up of all of the steel panels. We're going to go over tube bending and fit up of the tube work. We're going to remove the bumper from the vehicle, and we're going to brace it for welding to avoid any warpage issues. We're going to weld every seam, we're going to sand those seams, and then blend them out to create a beautiful radius before it goes away for sandblasting, priming, and powder coating. Check out some of my other videos. Please visit the website and the Facebook page. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.